I thought I would do something different since we've been talking about our homebrew pinball for off and on for 2 years now. So the theme is based on the book I wrote. So this is book 1 that I wrote. It is an alternate Earth, what if? All right. Hey everybody, welcome to the Wild Dog Arcade. I'm Gary and I'm solo tonight. Ed's out of town for the week, so I thought I would do something a little bit different here. I'm gonna actually start working on some of the CAD. Well, I've been working on the CAD, but I thought I'd start to show you guys a little bit of work on the CAD, chill and chatting and stuff with all of you out there tonight. So it's gonna be a little bit different. So it's gonna be a lot more of a relaxed stream. Not gonna be obviously playing some pinball. I'm going to show you, some of the CAD that I'm working on, also some of the other assets I've kind of been working on the side to give you kind of a feel of the art and the, art style and theming of the game. You'll get a good look at what I'm doing as far as the shots and stuff in the game. So it's going to be interesting. If you're definitely interested in the home brewing thing for pinball, you're going to get to see a lot of the really nitty-gritty detail work, because making a pinball machine is not easy. There's a lot of steps to it, from the initial concept design to the fabrication, CAD layouts, physical building, and then there's the code, which is going to be the really tough part. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, so the mechanical stuff's fairly, relatively easy for me to do. So it'll be a lot of fun. I don't know. CAD work is not that much fun. It's a necessary evil. In the end, when you get the object, the physical object that you've designed, engineered, made, that's when it's really satisfying. This is going to be just a lot of work in between now, and who knows when we get this game done. So let us jump on over to the other screen here. All right. So let's see. Pull up my CAD. So, okay. Right now, this is kind of the stage of the CAD that I'm at. So if you want to take a look here, it's based on a standard body cabinet. What I did is I actually made a virtual representation of this in Visual Pinball, VPX. I actually worked out a lot of the shot layouts and stuff like that. Now that I've gotten into CAD, of course, there's been some refinements, because you can get away with a lot of stuff in virtual. I tried to design the virtual one with the real table in mind, using some other components, keeping in mind where parts are placed. Because in a virtual table design, everything underneath this playfield doesn't exist, but when you're making a real one, it's got to have everything underneath. So I'm going to flip this over, and you can see here the underside of this playfield. So these are all physical objects that you'll have to work around, like when you're trying to do something. So as you can see, I've got a variety of flipper mechs in here. I actually have 2 subways, so the ball gets routed via a physical subway down to kickers and things like that. And of course, you've got targets, up posts, and other little things going on underneath. So there's a lot going on. Most of these objects I had bought from Pinball Life. I actually took them apart, remeasured a lot of them. There are some CAD files available out there, but as I found, usually they're kind of incomplete, or I'm not necessarily 100% trusting what they were. So there's a couple of them I checked that were good, but most of these I have actually remodeled, reassembled myself. And that was been the lion's share of the work up until this point. Now we're just doing some layout work on that. So Playfield. So as you can see here, it is a 5 flipper game. I got 2 lower flippers, 2 upper flippers, and then I have a small upper playfield. So I've been working on the shots. Now, it looks like a fairly open layout shot. What I'm trying to do with this game is I'm trying to keep it simple appearing, but it's not really simple. There are a couple of mechs in here that I'm doing that are custom. So on the left side here, you can see we've got a couple of stand-up targets. It is a more standard lower in-lane setup, but I'm using, I got 1 lane on the right. On the left, I've got the same kind of thing. but I am using kind of more of the Schatz target here. And so instead of coming up when you kick it up there, it's not going to fly out. I also got another random stand-up target here. So we're moving from left to right. This is an orbit shot. This orbit shot, all right, so this is the base underside of the Playfield. This is a left orbit, but it's not true orbit. It's going to come out back in the middle. So this is a crisscross setup that I've got. So you've got a left crisscross, a right crisscross. Both of those orbits, the left orbit will feed it back down to one of your lower flippers, but you can also hit it the other way. This right flipper here can hit a variety of shots. From this flipper, you can actually hit the left orbit. This one here is going to be a ramp. This is also an inner orbit that feeds the loop to the back on this side. So you can hit, 1, 2, 3. There's a catch scoop here. There's a little turn back in here and the center shot, and then a scoop. Then we got another lock set over here, another little shortcut on the orbit, and then another ramp, and then the right orbit. So a lot of the lower flippers can hit a lot of different shots on this. Upper flippers, I've got them staggered so I can do a variety of different things. This upper right flipper can hit 1, 2, 3, 4 shots, maybe a fifth if you just get lucky, but it's going to be a very tough shot. Upper left flipper is going to be able to hit this turn back. It's going to hit this captured ball lock or a scoop and up on top. So there's going to be a lot you can do with this. I'm trying to make this kind of a shooter's game to where, somebody who is, really likes to, get into a rhythm and stuff. There are several loops on this thing you can do. So when you're in the upper part of this playfield, this right flipper can actually hit this shot, and you can loop it, a little short loop back and forth. Left one can actually shoot this loop around here, going up like this. But also, if you need to feed the upper left flipper and the balls down towards this upper right, you can hit across this little cutback, that's where also I'm gonna have my extra ball target sitting there hiding in the rail. But then that will feed it back down to this flipper, and you can do some stuff. You can also hit this shot with the upper flipper and feed it to the lower flipper. So a lot of these things, it looks fairly simple, but lots of stuff can go a lot of different places. These are just putting the pinballs in here so I kind of get a good idea. Nope, not going to do it. All right, well, we'll just highlight that. So yeah, so you can see there's going to be a ramp here. The ramp is going to feed up to a ramp that's going to have a diverter on it. So I'm going to hide the playfield here. So the left side of this ramp will go up, feed a diverter, and there will be a wire form that takes it back down. But once you've qualified the upper playfield, it'll route it into this upper playfield. The upper playfield is a very small loop, so you can do some looping to get some bonuses. And then there's also a cut back here to go to this drop. This drop will actually go all the way through the playfield. I've got to make some guides and stuff that go down to make sure it doesn't fall out. But it's going to drop into the subway to go into the physical ball locks. This is one of this lower subway here is going to be one of the ball locks in the game. This scoop here is a subway that's going to feed the ball back down to this up kick. This up kick will then feed it to the left flipper. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm going to do. Now, so there's a couple of things here that you aren't going to be able to see. So I'm going to hide that again. So this little white thing, this is something that's interesting. This is a new mech that I'm making for this game. This is actually a section of the playfield that will rise up out of the playfield. So I've got a motor and a screw drive in here that will raise this section. So imagine you qualify something that's going to kill the flippers, the ball's going to drain, it's going to give you a very good moment as it rises. That completely changes your ball paths up here. So once you're in the upside, you can get these really short loops going on in there. And also, instead of going straight across, this will cut it back over here. I've also got another modified drop target over here. So this drop target, I'm going to hide the actual artwork. the artwork I had done, I had exported from Visual Pinball, and I did a lot of cleanup work in paint.net, and then I overlaid it over the game. So I have some cool guidelines on some of this stuff. This is actually also a diverter. I'm using a drop target as a diverter. So it's going to pop up. So when this is active, this will be active. So when you hit this up here, it's going to come up, hit this, and then it's going to cut it back down. So it'll get this crazy little short loop thing going. So I've got two diverters that are going to pop up through the playfield. It's going to completely change the dynamic of the game when it's active. Not going to use it much, just on special occasions, because I want to create that pinball moment when you qualify something. So for all of you out there who haven't picked up the book and have read that, I'm going to use it in modes like there's a rocket test that they do as they're trying to develop the spacecraft. There's also a launch and stuff like that. I'm going to use those for specific like modes. When you qualify them, you'll get this special mode, and your goal will be to like how many of the left and right short loops can you do. You know, like a rocket test, it's like 10% power, 30, 40, 50, 60% power. So it's going to do that. I did work this out pretty well in Visual Pinball, so the geometry works out pretty well. I've made a couple of changes to it. I had gone back and forth between having this one as the ramp and this one as the ramp, you know, vice versa, or this one the orbit. I've settled on making the ramp the upper one, because having the ramp this low, I was finding that, yeah, it was really tough to do. It was off the tip of the flipper and you wouldn't hit it very often, so I've swapped it back and forth. This ramp side is going to go up through here, go up through the backboard, and route it back down and dump it back down in this outlane. So it's going to do that. Also going to have a diverter in there where it possibly can drop it back into this upper playfield. Haven't worked that out if it's going to actually work on that. So, but yeah, so you can see this upper playfield is also going to be a polycarbonate, so it's going to be clear. You're going to be able to see through it, right? Right now it's just solid, so I can see it better in CAD, because if you notice, when I start to make stuff transparent, it gets kind of difficult to deal with. But yeah, this one will be, you know, I guess think Foo Fighters upper playfield, where there's a little loop and a little thing, but you can qualify a lock which will drop through, or it'll feed back down. If you whiff, it'll feed that back down a wire form and feed it back down to the flippers. I think I am going to feed it to this one. So if you whiff it, it's going to be on wire forms. There's going to be several wire forms in this game, which is, I'm a long way from doing the CAD work. I got to get the base stuff worked out, the ramp stuff kind of worked out first. So it's coming along. There's a lot of parts. I mean, if you ever have looked at the underside of a pinball machine, you'll know that there's a lot of things that have to happen. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this stuff today. Oh, also, I'm going to have an up post in here in the middle. This will be a qualified up post, and it'll be operated by one flipper button on the right. So if you qualify that and you think a ball is coming to randomly fall down right in the middle, if you're on it, you can activate this post. It'll be like a one-time activation until you requalify it, and then you can drop it off and keep it from going straight down the middle. So, all right, Arcade Castle, thanks for that streak there. But yeah, so this is kind of what I'm going to be working on tonight, is doing some CAD. I'm going to do some more things. I'm going to walk you guys through some of the artwork and stuff on here. Let's minimize this if I can. There we go. All right, so this one here is the actual cabinet that I've got going on. This is a Barrels of Fun Factory Seconds cabinet that I picked up. So it's basically a Williams WPC cabinet. This is what they build this stuff on. I had a lot of the parts because I was going to modify an F-14 Tomcat playfield or cabinet, but then this one popped up and I don't have to do any of the hardcore woodworking to make that one into a WPC cabinet. So I've been assembling it, and I actually was test fitting the F-14 Tomcat playfield in it, just to kind of work out where some of the mounts and things are. The F-14 playfield is shorter than a WPC or a Barrels of Fun cabinet, so it's gonna be a little deeper, but I thought I would work out some of that, and then I was going and adjusting the CAD when I did some of this stuff. So yeah, it's nice because I got one of the ones that didn't have artwork applied, so it's like basically a brand new cabinet, a couple of minor little dings in it, a couple of things I had to Dremel out some holes to make work because it must have been off from whoever's making their cabinets for them, but it was kind of nice. Let's see, let me find another piece of artwork here. I'm going to show you this is some of the older artwork I was doing, because I was making a virtual table version of it so I could play it on the cabinet, see how it plays. So this right here is just some of the layout and some of the art theme that I was kind of going for. So you can see I was just doing some test art on here to kind of work out some of the stuff. But yeah, so there's going to be a variety of inserts. So in this game, there are 8 different characters based on the book that I wrote. So these 8 characters are going to, you hopefully, when I get it coded, you'll be able to select which character you're playing. They're all each from different parts of this world, represented by the color that's on the stained glass looking thing here. So you're going to be able to travel to the different regions to try to like do some of the modes, collect some like political influence and other things on there. Shot wise, you can kind of get an idea of kind of some of the art that I was tinkering with, trying to get. I'm going for this kind of graphic novel style on the game. So each one of these little bits of artwork are like real places in the world that I went and applied a bazillion like filters and like a comic book filtering to try to give it a more of a graphic impression of it. So, you know, you got some Amsterdam for Fordland. San Juarez is basically kind of like South America. Los Diego, kind of think San Diego, Los Angeles area. Escoban's more like Tibet, Mongolia. Fijiwara is like Pacific Island, you know, Japan, Philippines, stuff like that. River City is kind of more of your Detroit, a little more gritty, a little more industrial area. And then Hearthstone is kind of like your middle of America. And then Calvaris is kind of more like Africa, South Africa region. So they're basically characters that come from different places in this world. So I was playing with some of the artwork, just trying to figure out the style. This is like the third or fourth version of this that I've done. I had this is an older version of it where the orbit was inside and the ramp was over here. Now that I've also into the real CAD, there are definitely differences between real CAD and virtual. You know, just things you have to account for. You know, that posts need to go through the bottom. There might be another part underneath, and you have to well, since I didn't have the posts modeled in things, so you have to move them a little bit. So there's a lot of little subtle details tweaking when you're getting into the real CAD, which is why I wanted to do CAD rather than just start making parts and trying to bolt them on. Yeah. But yeah, so for anybody who isn't familiar with it, I actually wrote a book for this pinball theme. So this is an original theme table that we're going to be doing. So this is book 1. But yeah, so this is the theme that it's based on. It's going to be based on 2 books. I'm still working on the second book because I wanted more content. The story's not finished, so I'm working on that one. So this is book 1. That came out about just over a year and 3 months ago, something like that. This second book, this is a working title at the moment. So book 2 is Anthropia Horizons. I don't have a subtitle for it yet, but it's basically picking up where book 1 left off. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Backglass. So I also concepted the first backglass for the game. This is version 1. So basically somebody made a comment, showed it to somebody, and they were like, it's very Grand Theft Auto feeling. This is the kind of the concept backglass that I put together. So again, represented, these colored neon bars represent the color of the part of the world they're from. So that's gonna be what I'm thinking about doing. There'll be obviously some tweaks to it, So I've been kind of, as I've been designing the game, I've been kind of concepting art and refining it and doing some different things on there. So that is the Backglass on the game. Let's see what some of the artwork. Again, a lot of this is work in progress. I basically been working on it. This was kind of the shuttle concept that I threw together. Took me quite a bit of work time in paint.net doing it. I don't have a Wacom tablet to do that, so all the work I've been doing is paint.net. So there's a early space flight stuff, is space shuttle based. I guess, let me step back for a second. The Anthropia world is basically like a alternate universe Earth. Little different landscape, different politics, different people. But back in the Middle Ages, a spacecraft from an alien race crashed on the planet, and they had no idea what would happen after this happened. It basically created this race of human alien hybrids. So basically, yeah, these are some of the stuff. And then what we do is the first book is a world building book. It's got a whole bunch of short stories that kind of illustrate the history of the world up until modern times. I don't know yet, Borg Dog. I mean, it's going to be, the coding part of it is going to be tough for me. So we'll see how it evolves as I get better at coding. I mean, first goal will be get the game flipping and then start to code in some modes and things like that. Yeah, so that is kind of the premise behind that. So it's, they're not werewolves, but a lot of the early humans thought they were. So it basically takes a scientific approach to how these creatures came about. So, all right, and then was working on my launch pad shuttle. I've got some different shadow work and stuff to do still here. So this is the shuttle things, doing different drawing and assets and things like that, combining stuff. So you can see the same shuttle that I created earlier is getting used in the launch pad. I'm not happy with the smoke on this at all. I need to retool that. So, and then oh yeah, and this is the alien spacecraft. It's based on the Albuquerque theory of space drive. So essentially the ship compresses space-time in front, expands it behind it, and then moves the spaceship along because of the space-time compression expansion. It basically pushes the spacecraft beyond Newtonian and Einsteinian physics. This is actually based on some real scientific work. It's been a concept that's been around since about the 90s on how faster than light drives could actually work. In the spacecraft, because of the way the space-time bubble works, the people do not feel acceleration or anything like that. It basically, if they were moving at a certain speed when you kicked on the drive, the space-time bubble accelerates, but the people inside of it don't feel that. So the spacecraft that crashed on the Earth is this one. So, which, if you can kind of see that loosely in the cover art, you can kind of see the spacecraft hidden in the wolf on the cover. So characters, it's like I was mentioning, there are 8 different characters in this game. Each one of them are kind of different subspecies of these human alien hybrids. Hiro Adachi is based in Fujiwara. Fujiwara is kind of like Pacific Island, Japan, and that type of region, Hawaii. He's a fox character. Maya Meta is from Escoban, and Escoban is, as I was saying, is kind of more of the Tibetan, Mongolian region, kind of colder, kind of has more religions, more like Buddhism and stuff like that. In fact, she is a spiritualist from that area. Then we've got Renata Alonso. She's from San Juarez, and she's an anthropologist and world-renowned anthropologist. And then we got Ivan Grekov. He's kind of our brute. Comes from storied past. We're dealing with the, you know, he was in the mafia and stuff like that. He's kind of our brute character that's in the game. So, you know, I guess think a little more Detroit mixed with like Russian or Slavic influence. Next ones are Tyler Dresden. Tyler Dresden is our brilliant scientist. You know, multi-billionaire, brilliant scientist. You know, a little bit. You're not a Tony Stark in the not in the same sense. He's a brilliant guy, but he's not Tony Stark. He isn't he isn't egotistical and, you know, stuff like that. Zuri Mandla, she comes from the Calaveras region, and she is basically a journalist and has exposed several, you know, major corruption schemes in the planet, in Calaveras in general. So she is kind of like your reporter, good on camera, you know, presenter type. And then the last four are Ingrid Sjoberg from Fordland. So Fordland, you can think of like the Amsterdam, Nordic regions of Europe. She is an industrial magnate, like third generation. Her father built a huge business and she ended up inheriting it, but they're also heavy into manufacturing and aerospace manufacturing. And then we got Brennan Clark. Brennan Clark is your all-American boy, basically. Son of a politician and football star and things like that. So if you read the books, some of you out there you'll understand, you know, how they came to be who they are. But yeah, that's kind of some of the stuff. So that's kind of where I ended up, why this ended up being a thing. I knew it would be something I would have to create the universe so people understood, you know, what was going on. We couldn't just make a game with a theme without having some backstory. So if somebody is really interested in the game and why it exists and what everything means, that's where the stories and the books go, you know. And maybe Netflix picks it up for a graphic novel or some animated things. So, you know, that would be awesome. You need to make the time to read it. Yeah. I mean, it turned out to being 100,000 word book. So it ended up not being like a novella. Originally I was just going to make a short novella out of it, just to illustrate the world. But then I came up with some really cool origin stories for the characters. And then I'm like, well, how do we put them together that makes sense in the game context of a game? Because right now what I'm doing is I'm creating the base shape of this. Now, I use a lot of interpretation on visual pinball. You know, you can do some stuff, but I can get away with a lot more in visual pinball when it comes to the real stuff. So now what it is I have actually worked on that part in the context of my assembly here. So I overlaid that. So let's go back to the real base part now. Okay, so this is the part, the raw part, basically. I need to, in my upper assembly, this is the part I'm working on right here. It's basically a clear protector. I'll have a light inside, but I also got to put some mounts in here. So I need these post studs so I can put the decorative plastics up on top of that. This is actually a custom switch target that I'm making. It's based on a micro switch, but it's got some urethane and a spring in here. So basically I needed really, 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 really slim targets. So let's go back to this part. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to put a couple of holes and bosses in here so I can put some more studs in there. All right, so this is what the upper playfield is looking like now. I'm still not quite done. I still got one more part I got to do for this one. So basically, I've got a flipper up here and I can do little mini loops, or I can do a final, either hit a couple of targets, or I can get it into this scoop and this will drop it all the way through the playfield. Donkey Kong, well, thank you, appreciate it. But yeah, at this point, I'm going to be doing the physical, CAD work for this and start building the physical playfield. Then I'll be trying to start doing the coding. I'm going to use a Mission Pinball framework and Godot for all the visual stuff. And hopefully I can get it working on a Linux box so I don't have to worry about Windows crap. So I've set up a Windows machine here now, so I'm getting okay at it. But I also want to just make sure it's slim. The nice thing about owning a Barrels of Fun Winchester Mystery House and buying a Barrels of Fun cabinet, I know exactly which power supplies, what kind of computer, and all that. I have a really good benchmark right here in the house. So this upper playfield is going to be clear, so you'll be able to see through it. So I didn't want it to completely obstruct everything. So I've got some good places to put anchors. I can anchor off of this post here. Yeah, because I took my, for those who just joined, I kind of concepted all of this in Visual Pinball with only some basic coding to have it operate some stuff, no real rules or anything like that. Then I exported it out into paint.net, cleaned up a lot of the lines, been laying out some of the geometry in there for like what I'm concepting for the art. All right, let's go back to our base playfield. So now my upper playfield's kind of sorted. I've left a lot of space since I'm anchoring my upper playfield to the back box. I left space for toys, and I also know might be some, there are also gonna be some rails coming over. Things that each one of these ramps are gonna go somewhere. This one will go up and alternately feed back down or feed and drop into this upper playfield to get it. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on tonight. So, sounds spicy. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, if anybody's considering it, it is a big time commitment and it's not going to be cheap in the end. I mean, you're talking $3,000 to $4,000 in probably mechs and parts alone, not including any of your labor to that, and then coding. So that one's the one that's going to be fun for me. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, so doing this kind of mechanical CAD work is a no-brainer for me. The code's going to be a big learning curve for me. I have not done a lot of coding work over my career. In fact, the last time I really did any coding work prior to working on this pinball is back in college. I did do some very, very basic codes in the virtual pinball simulation that I started with. I basically laid all this out in VPX so I could work out the shots and see if they would even physically work with because my original whiteboard sketches look nothing like where this ended up, because it's just once I stuck the whiteboard sketches into virtual pinball, it's like, oh yeah, this just does not work. So, but I'm trying to give it so that there's a lot of ball paths. It goes different places to do different things. So no pop bumpers. I didn't throw in a pop bumper cluster because I'm kind of bored and tired of them. Too many games have pop bumper clusters. So I wanted to make kind of a shooter's game. Somebody who's like, all right, how do I loop these together to get that combo, to get that ball to feed to here so I can do that special thing the game's asking for. So horizontal dimension, let's put in vertical one. So what I do is I work in the context of my assemblies. I've got a template that I put in here. That was an export from Visual Pinball into a paint.net and then into SolidWorks here, so I can have my guide of what the shots worked out, and then obviously I'm making tweaks as I go along to basically make the make everything a little cleaner, because you can get away with a lot of stuff in Visual Pinball that you can't quite in a real game. That's one of the things if you play Pinball FX, you'll play some games that no physical way can you actually make that work, because the ball will go through a physical mechanism, and you on a real one you have to allow for that. Since I do a lot of CAD work at work, so there's a lot of times I come home and I don't want to do that, so this has been kind of slow going. It's kind of a bit of a slog, unfortunately, because I don't want to do it a lot. just because by nature I'm doing this all the damn time. So I'm finally getting, now that I got the cabinet going, I'm kind of getting motivated to take care of this part of it, because this will let me get to like making physical parts. And I really enjoy the hands-on aspect of everything. So this is, it's a necessary evil. Since I am an engineer, I want to make sure that this is good. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to create an orbit block, sort of like I've done down here for my guides. Basically, they'll be clear resin printed parts. All right, now I can actually just go and pick and highlight those things. Now I can look at the underside of the playfield to see, do I have them placed somewhere where the post can actually stick out? So it looks like this one I need to move a little bit. That one's fine. This one looks like it's okay. Yeah, it looks like it's okay. I gonna have to put it on before I put the flip mech in. But I think at this point, I think I'm gonna wrap up for the evening. I was doing a lot of CAD at work today, so here I am doing more CAD. Feels like it's still at my job. But yeah, folks, I appreciate you coming by. It's nice to share. I mean, I know we've been talking about this game for a couple of years with you people watching us on stream. So I've like gotten to the point where I finally have something substantial where I can show you what we're doing and what it's looking like. But yeah, I'm hoping it's a really fun game. If you ever get into any of the conventions that we're going to get this game at, I hope you get a chance to play it someday. It's not going to be at Expo this year. There's no way. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that I can get this done before October. There's a lot of parts to make, a lot of programming to do, but hopefully maybe next year, maybe Pinball Expo 2027, you'll be able to get your hands on this game. So again, thanks everybody, really appreciate it. I hope you see you Sunday. All right, everybody, bye.